The Star Wars Archives 1999 to 2005 by Paul Duncan was published this month, and it walks us through an interview with George Lucas from 2019 on the creation of the prequel trilogy. With this, we also obtained some new insight on what could have been in George Lucas's original sequel trilogy. This book goes on to explain that Darth Maul would have returned as the main antagonist with his Twi'lek apprentice, Darth Talon. Luke was rebuilding the Jedi Order with survivors from Order 66, and Leia was supposed to be the chosen one as opposed to her father, Anakin Skywalker. There's a lot to take in here, so let's break it down. The use of Darth Maul would have been a very interesting route to go with, but it makes sense considering Maul has seen much more screen time in the last few years with Clone Wars, Rebels, and Solo: A Star Wars Story. Having him return would pose a very dangerous threat for our heroes, as Maul is simply a being created out of hatred. But what about his apprentice? Darth Talon is a completely unexpected choice. Her abilities and skills would match up with Maul's, as she was a very skilled duelist using both lightsaber forms 2 and 4, and she was also very skilled in the dark side of the Force, making her able to use Force lightning and use the Force to manipulate beasts to attack Jedi during battle. Having Luke rebuild the Jedi Order with survivors of Order 66 is exactly the type of scenario I could see Luke in. We obviously have no idea who these survivors could have been, whether they were new Jedi that we had never seen before, or perhaps a few that we were familiar with that just happened to survive. However, it is described that Luke would have about 50 to 100 surviving Jedi from Order 66, which he would use to rebuild the Jedi Order. This probably would have been a close comparison to the amount of Jedi we see Luke training in the New Jedi Order book series. Leia rebuilding the Republic would have been a key point in the sequel trilogy, as the story was set to take place only a few years after Return of the Jedi. So with the Empire in complete disarray, this would be the time for the New Republic to take the helm of the galaxy. Leia was also seen as the Chosen One, as opposed to Anakin Skywalker. Now, many people may not understand why this is, but author Paul Duncan explained on Twitter that George told him, "At the end of a war, everything is broken, and society needs to be put together, and healed so that it can work again. The Chosen One is the person who brings balance by achieving this." These ideas from the original sequel trilogy sound awesome and insanely different from the sequel trilogy we actually got. However, that does not mean it comes without its own set of problems. For example, Darth Maul's apprentice. While seeing Darth Talon on the big screen would be cool in its own way, she does not exist yet in the timeline. The original sequel trilogy was supposed to take place only a few years after Return of the Jedi, which could be anywhere from 4 to 11 years after the Battle of Yavin. Darth Talon was first introduced in the Star Wars Legacy comic line, which takes place 137 years after the Battle of Yavin. There would be no way for her to be in both stories in the same run. On top of this, the sequel trilogy would run parallel with the events of the Heir to the Empire trilogy, which could have potentially retconned everyone's favorite expanded universe character, Grand Admiral Thrawn. Also, as much as I would like to see a large number of Jedi training under Luke, I find it hard to believe that there would be anywhere from 50 to 100 Jedi that survived Order 66. But if most of them were children, then I suppose it would be a little more believable. But until I am able to get the book and find out more details for myself, that will be it for this video. Let me know what you think of this sequel trilogy in the comments below. Do you like this idea, or do you prefer the sequel trilogy that we already have? Remember to like the video and subscribe if you haven't, and remember, the Force will be with you, always.